Yeah. All right.
Got it.
All right. I'm gonna leave you guys to it.
Now, let me ask now, screen share, how do I move this to the top? Whoops. Maybe I don't need to know any more about it than what I've got here. So we've got 4 people here. Oh, David, are you still there?
Yeah.
When people come in, they have to be invited in?
No.
Because it seems like in the past, I can remember that there were people that weren't in yet.
No, you shouldn't have that issue.
Why? Lauren's going to do that?
I'll watch for it. Yeah, sometimes it was set up so they had to be admitted. They were in a waiting room, but it's
okay.
on the screen now, so they come right in.
I don't think we have this one set up with a waiting room.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah. Oh. All right. So it looks like you're gonna be talking a lot about what you're gonna do in the future.
Some, yes. At the end of the meeting, we'll be talking some of that. So you
Okay.
must have read the email I sent. You were probably the only one that read it.
Randy.
I'm getting pessimistic about life.
Well, yeah, whatever your group wants to do. I mean, so like I said, we can continue the Zoom. But if you, it sounds like if you do it at Moser's place, you're not going to be able to do that. So
I'm afraid that is the case, but we'll have to find out.
all right. All right, I'm going to go finish dinner.
Okay, have
All right.
a good meal. Okay. Okay, screen share.
Hey, John. Good to see you.
John is a very valuable new member. I don't think of you as a new member anymore. You've been around for a while.
I've been around. I don't know about exactly where.
Okay. Let's see.
Erica, hi.
Hi, how are you, Lauren?
Wow, good.
I've got my spring background on.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah, it was a rather dramatic change real quickly.
We were spoiled. We had a lovely fall.
Yeah, we were. It was really, really lovely fall.
I think it's been the most beautiful October I've ever seen. I mean, absolutely perfect weather. You look at what's going on all over the country. What do we have? 60 days and
70s.
30 nights. And I mean, oh, just clear skies, beautiful.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Been a late start to winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we just hope we get lots and lots and lots of snow.
Yeah, it's remarkable how good the Tetons look, though. When we were out there yesterday, and they looked like they were dumped on. No snow at all, in the valley, and the Tetons were completely white on this side. Randy, what'd you get over there?
Up at Targhee, they've got a couple or more inches. We had yesterday about an inch. It's melted off today, but when I looked at the news today, they just showed that you still see it.
Well, it looks like right about 7,000, 7,500 feet is where it just stops and then we get the snow.
Yeah.
So looking out my window, I drove over the pass today. It's a typical first snow drive. There was at least one car with a Florida tag that was off the road. That's okay. There were several Wyoming plates that were off the road. There was a semi coming up the pass after being warned that there's no trailer traffic. So, and he got stuck right at 13, which is that marvelous corner.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that pass hundreds and hundreds of times, and just you have to be slow. You have to be careful. Drives me crazy.
And not have a trailer behind you.
Oh yeah. Oh, I watched them make a woman leave her horses and walk them back to the trailer one year because she had taken a trailer with horses up the pass. When she got stuck, they made her walk them one by one down to, I think it's Coal Canyon, Coal Creek, you know, where the road flattens
Oh, on
out.
our side,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully she won't do that again.
I don't think so. So John, we haven't met. You are,
I live here in Jackson.
um,
Have lived here over 17 years, but have been interested in doing photography for a long time. It just never made enough effort to join TPC.
I
where are you
caught
from
him.
before Jackson?
Oh, lots of places. So um,
The most recent
California
one?
twice, Australia twice, Papua New Guinea, um, West Texas, New Orleans. I grew up in Missouri.
So you got the hell out of the Midwest, huh?
Yeah, I did. It was never going to be a career for me there. I'm a geologist, and
Oh, wonderful.
so that's what took me a lot of different places.
Yeah, where the rocks show. They're not underneath
Well,
rain.
I did study at university. I studied some of my geology here in Wyoming, though not at the University of Wyoming.
Okay. Yeah, they have a good they have a good geology club here in Jackson. Oh,
Yes.
you're laughing. You're laughing, Lauren.
John is the reason they have a good geologist club.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So don't say anything negative about the geology club.
Whatever you like. I've stepped back quite a bit here now. So after working on that for 16 years, it was time to step away a bit.
Okay. Well, it's always been one of my favorite subjects, so I've enjoyed it very much.
Well,
I
this
work as
is, I was going
I
to say,
work-
this is a
Go ahead.
great place for anybody interested in geology. Probably one of the best places on earth.
I agree. I agree. So you're clambering over rocks, and I couldn't believe I was on the Snake River just 3 or 4 weeks ago, just walking around on the gravel pits and found a huge chunk of petrified wood. So I knew it came from a long way away, but it was pretty exciting.
If it was in the Snake River, yeah, it would have come probably from the Apsaricas.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of big trees up there. It could have come from. There are some other places up Pacific Creek could have come from.
Yeah, it
well,
certainly didn't come through the dam down the Snake. It had to come through.
no,
probably-
no. But it could have come
Yeah.
before the dam was there, actually.
That's true. That's true.
And it could have come out of the Grovants, down the Grovant River. Even there's petrified wood up there in the Grovants.
How big a piece was it, Erica?
I weighed, it was probably 4 inches by about 1 inch thick. So it was a sizable piece. And you
Wow.
could, with the layers, you could see all the layers. And yeah, I got a chance to climb up Specimen Ridge and see all what's remaining of the petrified trees up there. It's pretty neat.
Some time
Yellowstone.
ago, like last year or earlier, because I understand from a friend that the Park Service has Specimen Ridge closed off because they're worried about people getting into the Lamar. But I think the road just opened into the Lamar,
Yeah, it did.
so maybe they've lifted that.
Oh, this
restriction.
was several years ago. It's probably
Yeah.
4 years ago. And I hiked it up by myself and ran into some very large bison, and I gave them a very big way. It's pretty, very lovely up there.
Yeah, it's a neat place.
Well, I'm sort of a returning member. Last time I saw an email that I might have joined was May, so it's been a while.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
did
well-
retire. I did retire from the county commission, the Planning and Zoning Commission, in October. So
That
That
was
was-
a
yeah,
tough place. to
God,
be.
that was a tough 3 years, I'll tell you. So
There are people that would have
Understand.
wanted to have that meeting once a week for 3 or 4 hours. Oh my God.
just so they could yell at us. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just so they could yell at us. It just nothing to do with facts, and a lot of it had to do with greed. You know, I kind of tried to explain it's like the stock market. Your options have changed, and you're going to lose the number of shares you could have, but probably not the value. And their land is worth a lot of money, and they just don't need to cut it up in tiny pieces. So we'll see.
So
But a
you
lot of
worked
them were
with Mike?
angry. Huh?
So you worked with Mike?
Mike, yeah, Whitfield, you mean?
Yeah.
But I was not a county commissioner, I was a planning and zoning commissioner. It's an
Okay, but
appointed
But
position.
those two groups work together. Well.
Oh,
yeah,
boy,
yeah.
Bob Hennig was great. He was on this, I was on the steering committee for the very end of the draft code. And then because my background,
700 pages or whatever it was.
yeah, it was 5, yeah, but it's actually less code than in the old one. So,
So
They took
Erica, you
out- they
live
took out-
in Teton Valley, Idaho,
yes.
and so you
yeah,
were on the planning commission in that county, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, because obviously there's a big planning commission over here, and so I was hearing your discussion and thinking that doesn't match what's going on over here that best I know.
No, I lived in Alta for the first, I guess it would have to be 12 years. So I was a Wyoming resident, and then I moved to Teton Valley after that. So, and now I'm spending half my time in Wilson. I got to use ivermectin on cows just the other day.
What's in Wilson for you?
A sweetheart. after all
Okay,
these
well,
years.
that's probably the best reason of all.
Yeah, he's a lot. He has, for someone who was born overseas and have lived in at least maybe 5 countries and 6 or 7 states. I am dating a guy who has never lived anywhere but there.
Hmm.
Was born there, he's still there.
It happens.
At least he's fascinating and interesting, and he's very open-minded, and our politics are similar, which, you know, a lot of people say, oh, a rancher? Yeah, right. Yeah. He's truly is a rhino. So, but anyway, we've had a lot of fun. So I spend half my time over there. So when you have your meetings again at the bank, maybe I'll be able to make them. So I don't have to drive all the way from Teutonia.
Yeah, that will probably happen in January to go back to Meridian. I'm not
Okay.
sure, but that would be my choice if it was mine choice alone. And it's okay. It's fine in the summer and the spring and the fall, but there's some, now it'll be Tuesday nights where it's like, oh my God, I wish I wasn't stuck over here. I spent
Well,
four
the
hours waiting for the road to open one time. What was it, 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
Well, the ranch has a couple guest bedrooms. The history of Lynn Ranch, I
Oh.
mean, not Lynn Canyon, but Lynn Ranch is, there's always a free bedroom. So if you get stuck, you can stay there.
Hmm.
It's really fun. So all I've been doing is I've been installing new light fixtures. That place is such in disrepair because of what's happened the last few years. You know, he lost his wife.
Lynn
and-
Canyon here?
Well, no, Lynn Canyon here, but Lynn Ranch there. They're the same family.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we usually go in there in December to have dinner.
It's a lovely place.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. So they have a ranch on the other side. It's
Mhm.
where? In Jackson?
Wilson.
Oh, okay.
Their great grandfather was a homesteader, and their grandfather built the cabin that, well, part of the cabin that we are living in now.
Oh,
Place is
in
ancient.
1890.
No, actually about 1891 is when I think the first settler came into, and they couldn't wait to get out back then. You can't grow anything, you can't raise anything. It's just awful soil, awful winters. But
Oh,
There's
God.
reasons for that.
What year was it?
1901, I think, was his grandfather.
Oh my
Ben
God, the
Lynn.
snow they must have gotten would bury a house.
Oh, yeah. No, there's some fine stories. And of course, feeding cows, and now trying to fight to keep an ag exemption is very hard.
Mm.
So they want to take those away. And so we've got cows. And Sunday was vaccinating and worming, and I learned a lot.
I
God,
just
it's
sent
hard
my
work.
wife off to do that stuff to her 2 horses.
And the horses, and there's horses there too, and they're a lot of work too. Sorry.
They are.
So, well, John, I'm a Floridian by education. I was born in Germany and I lived in Austria as a kid. So
Ah,
But,
in-
and I also
Daher
spent my,
könnten Sie Deutsch sprechen.
ja,
Das war, ja.
ich kann noch Deutsch sprechen und auch österreichische Dialekt kann ich auch sprechen.
That I can't do.
Well, guess who I ran into 2 days ago? Pepe Stiegler.
Oh,
He's still,
Pepe
he's still
lives
getting
right
around.
across, he lives right across the street from me.
Oh, and I went to his, was it 50th golden medal ceremony we had down in Wilson, and I've known him for a number of years. He never remembers me, but I always speak dialect with him and he always gets a big kick out of it. So, hey,
Yeah,
we got Ben here. I can shut up now yet. We have a quorum?
Well, quorum, no, we don't operate on that one. That
Mm.
doesn't, that would require, well, it depends on which would be the group.
Yeah, we were based on membership or based on,
Oh, if it was membership, we would have to cancel every meeting. Okay.
Say, Lauren, how was that Africa trip you did early summer?
Amazing. It's amazing. We spent between September a year ago and this summer, we were 5 months in Africa. 3 months in South Africa, and then the earlier trip, we went to Botswana and Namibia and Zimbabwe. It's just incredible. Nancy's ready to move. She'd go. She'd live in a minute. In fact, we even looked at property in South Africa, but fortunately, came to our senses and said, no, that might be a little risky.
If you think the politics are ripe here,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, that's tough. But boy, I'll tell you, there's some beautiful spots over there.
It's a big continent.
Yep, yeah.
a number of years ago, Gene went hunting in Namibia and he just talks about it all the time. So he got 2 beautiful animals. I know you shoot with your camera, but he's not a rabbit hunter. He was excited about doing this. So,
Mhm.
hey Ben, I haven't seen you in a long time. You're muted.
Let's see here.
Hey there. I'm sorry, I was distracted.
Can we ask by what?
Trying to figure, I got a new iPad and trying to figure out the screen and stuff. It was distracting. I don't have my 10-year-old grandson here to help me.
I went to Idaho Falls. That was the extent of my travel today.
You got to go across the pass and through here, and that's a long way then.
I go down the Snake River Canyon.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'd rather take a beating than drive the pass, particularly when I saw the snow this morning. But
Yeah.
I went over and picked up an RF lens, 100 to 400. So,
Ooh,
yeah,
nice.
Where did you go to get it?
perfect light camera.
Oh yeah, I get stuff there.
That's a good crew,
Nice people.
Yeah.
except that not one of them shoots a Canon.
Sue,
Yeah,
do you want a
most of
wide
it-
angle? Would you like a wide angle Canon lens by any chance?
Oh, let me think about that.
Okay. I used to use it a lot in real estate, but I don't use it much anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, I went over there because I bought this R6 and it still has me buffaloed. I tell people it was like I went from driving a Ford pickup to piloting a NASA rocket, and I'm not a very good pilot yet. So,
It takes a while.
oh God, what you're paying for is the software, and they've just become amazing. But there are so many different ways to do a particular function with all of the different buttons on there. So yeah, if this keeps up, I'm going to need therapy.
I know about therapy if you'd like to.
That's physical, isn't it though, Randy?
No, I
Virtue's
followed them
PT.
closely. They've helped me out. I'm fine now. Well,
So how's your knee doing?
fine. I mean, as far as pain goes, I'm fine. I mean, my left leg, which is the one they replaced the knee on, doesn't seem to listen very well to things on the ground, and sometimes I trip, but I'm careful not to trip like down the hall or down the steps. But we went up to the Targhee the other day, and I couldn't really walk very well through the woods. I walked in Yellowstone on the sidewalk, no problem at all. Probably, well, it was like 8,000 or 9,000 steps, but up at Targhee in the woods, I got to do some more training. Then I'll be fine. What time is it here? Oh,
6:54.
Yeah.
Oh, we have two more. Rachel.
Okay. Lauren. Oh, Sydney's here too. He had sent something to me today. Sorry, Sydney, I didn't put the time on that last email.
Well, but
I'll have to send you 10 more emails.
I'm here.
Yep. So it's Sue. Rachel. Jen. Sydney.
Lauren, is that Namibia behind you, your background?
No, that's Death Valley, it's Death Valley.
Certainly could be Namibia.
Yeah, they had the big ones over there.
Do you think we could ever organize a trip to the Red Desert in Wyoming? To go down there? It's phenomenal. They have also dunes, and then they have these wonderful petroglyphs and pictographs, and they have amazing geological structures where if you kick your foot, you'll find petrified turtle shells and alligator
Where is
parts.
this?
It's a very protected little space that the oil companies want to destroy, but it is where the continental divide actually separates, and it creates a basin, and it's a beautiful wildlife, wild horses. The only thing you have to worry about is bed night, because if it rains, you're stuck. You might as well plan to spend the night. But other than that, I want to go. I've been twice, and I'd
So
love to
Erica,
go.
are you talking about the Kilpecker sand dunes?
I believe that is the correct term. Yes,
It
Kilpecker
is.
Yeah,
Standards.
I really would like to go down there.
Yeah, and plus they have these wonderful flowers that grow on Kilpecker. I don't have no idea what they are. And there's just a ton of things to see there. There's places to hike, there's places to explore. There's this amazing, I think a lot of people know the name of that tower.
Boar's
Boar's
Tusk?
Tusk. The Boar's Tusk.
Boar's Tusk. Well, not too far from there is a park that it protects what is a, think when I'm trying to think of the term, it's proper. But it's those petroglyphs, but they are specifically designed petroglyphs for fertility, and they're birthing stones where you can see the hands from multiple generations of women holding onto the rock and have carved their fingers into the rock. And it's just, they're birthing places.
Really?
They hold, so it's there too. There's just too much to see. It's just great. So it's great for photography. It's great for exploring. So maybe I can help organize that for next,
That's,
probably.
I'd get
July.
in on, yeah, I'd get in on that. I mean, if you're not camping, I guess you have to go to Rock Springs. It's south of Farson.
Right,
Yeah, I just haven't gone out into it because there's no cell service. And
yeah, there is no cell service, and if you get stuck,
right, so
you're there for a while.
and interestingly, they're one of the, I think they're less than a dozen singing sand dunes on the planet, and Kilpecker is one of them. The structure of the grains is such that if you step on them or the wind blows, it makes kind of a humming, singing sound.
That's great. And Kilpecker is from saltpeter. The
oh,
geologist would know that, right?
Yes, it's my understanding the troops were camped out down there, part of the cavalry at one point, and drinking the water had a particular effect, which is how it got its name,
Yeah.
Kilpecker Creek.
Kyle Moon, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing?
I've got to say, I'm sorry. Didn't get in touch with you. I've got an email from you that I think I did send one thing back maybe a week or two ago, but didn't get back to you. And it's because of the change that's going to happen tonight. I didn't want to say, oh, here's what we do, because I'm not sure in another month or two if that's what we do. But as long as you're here, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
Well, it's kind of complicated. I'm here in Wilson, but I'll actually be moving up to Bozeman for the winter and then coming back here in the summer. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I work as a wildlife guide here in Jackson. And so yeah. And it's just, the season's kind of wrapping up here.
Yeah, like it started on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it never technically ends, but when it comes to tours, people they're just not really interested. And then obviously with the closures in the parks, it makes it difficult to kind of navigate that. But yeah, so. But are you
Okay, well-
referring? Yeah, because like I sent, and I don't know, it sounds like you guys are going to talk about this new change or whatever, but yeah, I was trying to get that recording from the last event that you guys put on
Last Tuesday?
yeah, unfortunately I had to run, but that was so helpful.
Good.
Yeah, like I'm not very good at Lightroom, and the things that you guys were doing, I was like, oh my god. So it helps. Yeah, it was incredibly helpful. And so I would like to go revisit that recording. Yeah, like I said, unfortunately I just had to run that night, but actually I had to go back to work, I think, or something.
It
But anyway.
should be, let's see a minute here. Hold on. Lauren, do you know if that's been put on the website?
I don't know. I can take a peek
Okay.
while we're chatting here.
Because that's one of the things we'll want to do tonight. It's 7 o'clock, so why don't I go ahead and get us started? If I can do this right. What do you guys see? Do you see my oops.
PowerPoint, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't see what you see, so hopefully you'll be able to walk me through this, that I don't have David to pick up my mess. Okay. Whoops. For Kyle, this will be his first time he's ever been at this meeting. I'll always take you through the PowerPoint to show us what we're doing and what we're going to do, kind of at the beginning and at the end. Then I'll always use Lightroom to show the pictures that have been sent in. We've got 9 pictures this week. And then after we're done with it, I'm going to try to put that right up front to get So if people don't want to stay to hear some of the things that I need to get from some of you, then I'm not going to be dragging you kind of through the mud, if you'll understand that. So first thing we want to do is show you what's going to happen the next 2 months, November and December. Everything has been changed in Teton Photography Club to be Tuesday meetings. And our Tuesday meeting, let me move you guys out of the way so I can see this. Normally we go on the peer mentors have meetings on the 4th Tuesday. But unfortunately, I've had this happen before. Getting November, a peer mentor meeting in November is difficult because before it happened in the week of the Thanksgiving, and that didn't work because nobody came then. But this year, there's actually a 5th Tuesday in November. And so, oh shoot, what's going on here? So you can see down at the bottom of this, 3rd Tuesday is almost always the Teton Photography Club in the library. And the 4th Tuesday is our peer mentor meeting. But in November, we can skip out of that because no one would come the day before, 2 days before Thanksgiving. We're going to have ours on Tuesday, November 29th, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. But here's a little information we're going to talk about. The Tuesday, November 29th peer mentor meeting is likely to be our last Zoom meeting. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. We talked about this a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, a number of different times. But I've talked to Dave Mosier, who runs the Meridian Trust. If you can go back, some of you, Louis and Candy and Ben and David and other people we had a meeting in the Meridian Trust that really worked well. They've got a nice room for us that could hold 20, 25 people. And Dave is all excited about it. He likes the idea of us coming there. There's a problem though with doing Zoom and face-to-face, and we'll talk about that later. But the meeting on November 29th will be a Zoom meeting, and I'll send you an email about it. But starting in January, we will probably be going to the Meridian Trust in January, which would be the 4th Tuesday. Okay, let's look at our monthly theme challenge. For our new member, Kyle Moon, what we've been doing for the last 4 years, maybe 5 years, is every month we would have a theme challenge that everybody understood they had to get pictures and send them to me the day before or up to noon of the day we have our meeting. Pick a single picture that they felt was a good fall for October. Fall landscape. Last month we had texture and patterns. We've had black and whites. We've had all kinds of different things. This month it's for fall landscapes. And so what I'm going to start this meeting with is show you some pictures that for those of you who've been coming for a while, we have not so good pictures that people send to me. I didn't get a whole bunch of them, but I thought we could start with these. Hang on just a minute. These are 2 pictures. We got 3 others that I'll show you in a minute. What do you think about these as fall landscape photos? What do you like about them? What are they missing? What do you look for in fall landscape photos that would help you to decide this is a good fall landscape photo? Let's start with these 2. What do you think of them?
I would say that top one's missing quite a bit of color. Kind
Okay.
of fall colors, so yellows and some of the reds, oranges. I mean, obviously it's a kind of open field. Got some kind of colors, but doesn't really say fall too much.
Okay, so Kyle, when you'd go out for a fall landscape shot, one of the key ingredients you're looking for is bold colors, right?
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
think.
What about the rest of you?
I don't think the bottom one is a landscape.
Oh, okay. Why?
As well, from what I can see, it's just more like a still life. Leaves floating on water. I don't get a landscape feel from it, but maybe that's just me.
So it's a fall picture, but not a fall landscape picture.
Right.
Okay.
I'd agree with you, Ben. I actually misread or didn't remember what the theme was, and I had it in my head as fall colors. So I started, I just had a bunch of leaves that I was going to create something, and I was about an hour into it, and I saw Randy's email and said, oh, wait, this isn't landscape.
But it's very pretty.
But it's very pretty, yes.
It's interesting.
Well, the
'cause
top
in
one
those
is
articles that we put up, they do include things like leaves, but I think that's reasonable to say it's not really landscape leaves. Okay, what else?
I think on that upper left one, even though it has a lot of distance in it, I think it seems to be lacking dimension. It's pretty flat. It's fairly dull.
And there's a path in the front of it, but the path doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
From the left side of the picture to the right side of the picture. That's it.
Can't really tell what the subject of that is either.
Yeah,
That's- yeah.
there's no foreground. There's no subject in the foreground to make it more interesting.
Nothing close enough for you to know what it is.
You hiding some sheep in there?
I don't see any sheep in there, maybe. Okay, anything else? Okay, let's look at the next three are a little different. Which one do you like the most, or which ones do you like the least? And the key is why.
Well, I'll say I like the aspens with the radiating, looks like the sunrise there going through the trees. I
Okay.
think and it may not, when you do landscape, you think of more or less the other two photos kind of bigger vistas, but at least the aspens seem more of like a fall theme. You know what I mean?
Okay,
At least in my opinion.
okay.
I think that does qualify as a landscape. I think when we were listening to, was it Dennis Hammond? He talked about they're the kind of grand landscapes. So the two on the left are somewhat representative, definitely the one on the upper left, but they're the more intimate landscapes. And I think, as far as what Kyle had suggested, that I think the one on the right is more representative of a more intimate landscape.
Okay. What do you think about the one on the upper left-hand corner? Or the
It's
left
washed
corner?
out. It's, they're a combination of things to me. It's washed out, and it has a dead sky. There's nothing in it. And when I kind of imagine the larger landscapes, one of the markers, it seems to me, would be that they have a lot of dimension. And it seems to be lacking in that one.
Yeah, it seems, in your head, there is a dimension, but the picture itself, for me at least, seems pretty flat. There's,
Yeah.
Well,
I can
and the
imagine
lines
a
seem-
canyon, but not really.
There's no shadows. There's nothing to help you with
Yeah.
determining.
And then also right there in the bottom right corner, it looks like they cut parts of a tree that is just, two different trees, it looks like, that are way closer. You know what I mean? And it like that whole that whole corner, the bottom right corner, just needs to go.
Yeah, it's an intrusion. I'm just kind of holding a piece of paper. If you crop that out, It's a good observation. They need to get rid of that distraction.
I think if you move the whole, you know, in that cropping phase to the left, bring that splash of color, that center left, a little more to the center of the picture, your lines would be better and draw you to that color. Right now, the lines seem to be taking you, at least taking me, up into that upper left-hand corner where there's nothing.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, because that orange does stand out. Let me draw your attention to one other and then we'll move on. What about the other one? We've talked about the one with the sun. We've talked about the one in the upper left. What about the one in the lower left?
Well, it's
Just
very
seems cluttered.
nice. Yeah, with the light in the background. Because you can't really see that, I'm assuming it's a cabin.
Mhm.
It kind of mucks up the scene.
It's too bad there's not some light on that sets it off.
Yeah, and the
The only
trees.
light that sets it off is the grand.
Yeah, and that's beautiful, but the trees are fairly dark and kind of flat.
Yeah, it doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't draw my attention to them.
Yeah, I think it's just too cluttered with the trees now. I think if you were to crop that as like a portrait orientation where you know, just have some of the trees with the grand, I think that would be a better setup than this whole image. But to me, it just seems too cluttered.
Yeah, because I would want to cut out the tree on the left-hand side, cut that off, and going with a portrait mode might be a way to draw your attention to the mountain. Anything else? Okay. Here's some of the things, and I haven't mentioned this to you, Kyle. We have, for all of the monthly themes, we have a web page that has articles about it. Some people are very good at reading the articles, some people not so much. But there's not like I'm going to give you a homework assignment to give you a test on it. But here's some of the things that were in that peer mentor web suggestions that to enhance fall landscapes. The angle of the light, the color contrast, the reflections. You'll see that we do have, I think we have one photo that has reflections, clean background and foreground. Some of the suggestions were for shooting wide angle, get down really low to get some of those colors off the ground, and having a location with a trail that goes into the woods. Which of these or other criteria did you look for when you went out? What I'm looking for is not just what your picture was, but what did you look for when you went out to take, before the snow came, the fall landscapes?
Randy, what I was looking for was something that said fall. And sometimes that wasn't the landscape. So I was having a little trouble because there are things that say fall, like those leaves, you know, that Lewis had. And I wanted it to say on the brink, on the edge, not full fall. Like it was hard. I mean, I have a great picture of some cattle. And they say fall because it's snowing and you know, they're in a corral, but I appreciated the challenge to keep looking for something that actually said fall to me.
I think too that location wise or geographical location, our members that are in North Carolina are going to have different fall pictures than we would have here.
Or then the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, or Maine,
yeah, or Vermont, or Maine,
yeah,
or Texas. You know,
I would never have thought about Texas. Sorry, David.
Well, it would be stubble fields. But as you said in your email the other day, we're going to have a chance to have some fall pictures with snow. And, you know, a lot of places that's not an option.
Right.
You know,
And I was
but it's a
disappointed
reality
in
here.
that because I was thinking we're gonna get some snow and then we're gonna get some light, some sunlight, but
Yeah.
it never happened until today, but then most of the snow is gone.
Yeah. And then it'd been
Okay.
too late to turn them in.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Now, here's what we're gonna do. I need to inform you, Kyle, everybody else I think has been here a number of times before. We have 9 photos this time, and we've had up to 15, sometimes when we were in face-to-face meetings, we'd have 16, 18, 20 of them, but we only have 9 today. So everybody's going to get 3 votes on the first round. Lauren is the person that is now taking David's spot. Lauren, you want to give us some explanation of how we vote for you? I don't vote at all, but everybody else does.
Well, you don't vote for me, but the photo, you'll have to open up your chat, pull the chat up, and then you'll see down at the bottom, you can send a message. Don't send it to everybody, just send it directly to me. And as the votes come in with the number of images, the image numbers rather that you are voting for, I'll record those, I'll total it up, and then I'll give that information back to Randy.
Okay, and then we have a second vote that usually has 3 of the images, but it could have 4 or 5 if they have ties. And Lauren, that's pretty common that we'll have ties, particularly with small numbers of people. But I'm going to show you those photos off of my Lightroom, but you're going to help me. Candy will probably be the one that helps me to remind me to get rid of the edges so you'll see those pictures very clearly. Okay, let me get out of this. Hang on. Okay, yep. Hang on.
Oh, and as a reminder, when you're in the chat room, make sure you're not sending your vote to everyone. This time it should be, when you look at there where it says 2, it should be to Lauren. Is that correct?
Yes.
You have to select that.
And put commas between the image numbers for me. We only have 9, so it won't be
Makes it
quite
a little bit
confusing,
easier.
but
Yeah.
yeah, be a little easier.
Okay, so now you should have my Lightroom, and I'll try to get rid of all this other stuff that's there. Candy, tell me when I'm clean.
You didn't even need to say a word.
You taught me. Okay, there should be 9 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And I will tell you, you can see in the upper left-hand corner that this is number 1. So what you need to do is I'm gonna go through this slowly and show you all 9 of these. Then I'll show you all of them at once. And then I'll go through it again, and you can send the number of 3 different photos to Lauren. Okay, this is number 1. This is number 2. This is number 3. This is number 4. This is number 5. This is number 6. This is number 7. This is number 8. This is number 9. Okay, wait a second. I can make these much, whoops. There's the 9 of them, and I'm going to show them to you again. Remember, any 3, that's your choice. Here we go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Send your 3 numbers to Lauren, and we could talk if you want to, but this usually doesn't take us a whole lot of time. But what will happen is once we have the 3 or 4 or 5 that are going to make the second round of voting, then we'll do a critique of ones that don't make it to the finals.
Okay, I think I have all the votes.
All right, tell me which are the top 3, or there may be more than 3 if we have ties.
Okay, in no particular order.
Correct?
Number 9, number 6, and number 1.
Oh, and so we don't have any ties here, huh?
No ties.
Okay.
Lots of votes though for other images, but no ties for the top.
Oh, and that's something, Lauren, at the end, if you could take a picture of your votes and send it to me, that I always like to make a comment about it on the website that I make, because it's really amazing how almost always everybody gets a vote. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go through the ones that didn't get a vote, didn't get voted into the second round. What is it?
Randy, don't forget to star number 9.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
came up. It's 9, 6, and 1. Okay. What do you think about this one?
I loved it.
Me too.
Yeah.
What did you love about it? What
Just
makes
the,
it a really good fall landscape? I
it's
would
just,
agree with you. Why?
I think it's the stark contrast between the coldness of the mountain and these 2 bright aspens hanging on. It's just a very rugged picture. Makes me
Okay.
feel out there in the
drama.
cold.
Yeah,
Others
that
of you?
combination.
The
Yeah,
photographer,
go ahead.
I was going to say the photographer really nailed this for a pano type of composition with the muted clouds flowing down into the bench-like foreground, and then of course the 2 bright aspens. You're just drawn right to that, and it's complemented with the sunlight lit line off on the left-hand side. I think it's excellent balance.
Yeah, and the light on the left-hand side then continues just to the right of those trees. I think that's so cool. It's like that line, and then I just look at those trees all the time. I really like this picture. It's very different.
It's like that one colored line on the left is pointing toward them.
Yeah.
You know, and other than that's more subtle, but really everything is in shadow except for the trees that are lit
Right.
up. It just, it's one of those, my eyes keep traveling around, but coming back to the trees.
Mhm. Any other comments?
For what it's worth, I like it, but I would have cropped it considerably differently. I would have gotten rid of the upper half of the sky and also the right-hand tree.
Interesting.
So you, instead of having two aspens, you just save the one aspen because it,
Right.
on the left, because it's so much more powerful.
And,
Interesting.
and having two
Cut
of
the
them
sky,
there
yeah.
is distracting.
I think you've got a point, yeah. Anything else? Okay. Here. Okay, what do you think about this one?
Well, I'm a sucker for reflections and I love the reflections in that. I think it's really nice.
Yeah, my issue with this is the technically the upper third of the image has this
Blurry.
haze associated with it that really bothers me. So there's a lack of crispness. I love the composition, but
It's a little soft.
it's yeah, it just doesn't work for me with that upper third looking the way it does.
If you used the dehaze slider, would that have helped it? Do you think?
Maybe.
I think the dehaze slider in combination with a linear gradient application across that top might help, because you could pull that gradient down to the water's edge and play with it. But when you do that, when you hit it with dehaze, also hit it with a little bit of desaturation, because dehaze also brings up saturation.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And darkens.
I think for this photo, I would have liked to have seen this photo done as a long exposure with a neutral density filter, and then to have that kind of make those reflections pop a little more. I don't know. That's probably what I would have tried.
I think that's an excellent technical thing to bring into the field. The other thing, looking at this, is if you were to shoot this either further back or as a vertical pano to capture the top of that tree reflection in the water, might add some symmetry. I don't know. It'd be fun to play around with it. I'd go back to this location and shoot this again for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I would have cropped it just a little inward, just at the very top left corner, kind of where that branch is kind of sticking out. I would have probably closed it in a little bit,
Yeah,
or
the pine
made
tree
it
on the
wider.
left.
Yeah, or made it a little wider, but and then ideally catch that dead cottonwood, or maybe try to get the top, but that might be too much sky. I don't know.
I think when
person
you're
that took this-
playing with the crop, one thing that would be interesting to me would actually be to crop it right across the top of the hill and cut all those trees off and almost all the sky off. So you focus everything on the reflection and you just sort of wonder what caused that reflection. You don't actually see the primary part of the image.
Interesting.
Interesting. Where was that shot?
The person who took that, I'll defend them. The person that took this apologized. She hasn't been in the meeting a few times because she's had some problems with her camera and her laptop, I think it was. But so the reason this is soft is it was taken by her laptop. And she said, well, can I do that? And I said, sure. Anything you want to submit, that's really good. I like the picture, but I understand why it isn't that super sharp picture that you would kind of look for. Except in the water, not super sharp, but the rest of it's super sharp.
Yeah, and the only other suggestion I'd have, I'm just wondering, because I'm not there, so I don't know what's possible. If the person shooting it had moved maybe 6 to 10 feet to the right and shot at a slightly different angle.
Oh, away from the bank, yeah.
Yeah, because the right-hand bank is kind of messy. And I think it distracts from those really pretty reflections.
Yeah.
Just as a thought, another way to have framed this when shooting would have been to step back further and catch both banks. So that you have both
Yeah.
banks leading you for, into the image. It also would have captured probably then the tops of the trees and those reflections.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that too.
catching the tops of the trees and the reflections, because the reflections is really the important part, for at least from my perspective, really the important part. And it's like, wow, I would have liked to seen that. What was it? It's an aspen right in the center, gets much oranger in the water, but you don't see it all. Okay, let's move on. Oops, let's move on to the next one. All right, here's a very different one.
I think I would have liked to see a little more blur action, but that's just my own taste from the water, longer exposure. But
Because it looks like there is some more water in the front if you'd gotten a little more in the front.
yeah, and I think that would kind of tie into, partial of like, shoot low too, because I think you would have caught that rushing water would be like a really good foreground part where you get that, but you also get the background. I think it's a really good spot, like a really good background. I personally, I think would have liked to see it just a little lower, cut some of that more of that foreground, and then maybe add a little bit of that blur.
I
And
like
I
this.
would-
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I like the suggestion that this time you're in the landscape. You're not looking at it. That bridge suggests that you're in it, possibly. And I guess my only suggestion, I would have bumped the saturation a little bit. So it's just, the colors are there, but they look a little muddy.
Yeah,
Right.
I'd have increased the contrast as well, just a little to pop the
Yeah.
leaves.
And one of the things that bothers me is the differential lighting on the bridge. It's just way too bright on the right and just fades into nothing on the left. And I think you might have to do a little bit of touch up. And I mean, the bridge is really the
that's
picture, and
interesting,
the stream is the leading line to the bridge, and the color is just the perfect frame. So it's really a nice composition.
Yeah, it
But
is.
there's just something about the lighting of the bridge and all the shadows that are cast by that dense foliage.
This is another one of the photos that I thought I'd like it in a portrait mode rather than a landscape mode, because I think there's lots and lots of brush on the side, maybe more than I would feel it's needed, because I want it to pull me through, and I look at the sides more than the through.
So
That's-
Randy, there's there's hints of sky above the
Yeah.
bridge there with a portrait mode. And, you might have caught more of the flowing water as was mentioned, but there may be some sky there that really could have added above the bridge.
Mhm. Oh, I see. Way at the top you're talking
Yep.
about. Yeah, I barely even noticed that till you said that. Blue sky, yeah. Oh. I thought the other was sky, but maybe it's rock. That there's a cliff behind it. I don't know. Okay, this person isn't here either. Okay. What about this one?
The horses are beautiful.
Well, I like, yeah, I mean, I like that there's a focal point.
I'd have cropped it down from the top, a little lower. Made the horses the first third and then just a little bit. But yeah, I like the horses. I'm trying to figure out how that's really fall, but it is fall. So
Well, all of us wildlife photographers say animals have feet or they have hooves, and it just killed me that they're cut off on this. They just needed a little tiny bit of foreground grass to show the complete horse, because otherwise I think it's really nice. But that was just a deal breaker for me when I looked at that and say, I can't see their feet. That's bad. So
Lauren,
I see
Oh,
it.
wait a second.
Lauren,
You
we're-
can't see their feet?
I'm seeing their feet. And
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
seeing
seeing
some
their
grass in
hooves.
front of it.
but there needs to be a little bit more grass below it, just a little, I think. But the horses are reflecting the light in such a gorgeous way. I mean, those are some very pretty animals.
I don't see feet. All I see is a bar
Right.
with all kinds of stuff on the bottom.
Lauren, you
Oh.
might have that bottom tab or like
I do.
zoom bar up.
Yeah,
when
I
it's
do.
Not there. You
It's
can see
there.
the feet,
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah. But I
It's all
agree
cut
with.
off on mine.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I would change
with
my
most of what you
vote.
guys are saying too. There, like more foreground would have been better in my opinion too. Just to kind
Maybe a
of.
little wider. A little more pano-y.
Yeah, I don't think it quite works as a square, but I think, yeah, come down from the top.
I'd also like just to come in from the right-hand side. Some, we don't have to put everything right on the third line, on a line of thirds. And I think that maybe putting the black horse head on the line of third might make this a little bit stronger for me. I just see too much negative space on the right-hand side.
The right-hand side of the horses or the right-hand side of the picture as a whole?
I'm sorry, as I'm looking at it, the right-hand side.
Well, they-
I was
I'm
thinking
wondering-
along.
They
Yeah,
did follow one of the rules, which is to give them more room on the left, or at least the direction they're headed than on the right. That's true. So,
so I'm wondering if a little more contrast also would have actually helped single out the horses. So both to give more yellow to the trees in the back.
saturate them. Yeah.
Yeah, saturate a little bit. And I think the horses actually would have stood out even a little bit more.
Yeah,
I sure would love to see it.
what-
I'd love to
what-
see the image crop down and then, like you said, increase the saturation. I think it'd be much bigger, stronger
The
picture.
trees at the top, the dead trees at the top should be eliminated and just come down to right at the top of the ones that were standing out.
Or even further down.
I'd like it even further, almost
Oh,
the third of
really?
the image coming down. Yeah.
Oh,
My
not have
question to the
this-
photographer would be, what time of day was this taken? Because it looks like it's pretty harsh light.
It is. It was
11
taken by-
to
It was
1.
taken by this photographer because it was easy to get to and I didn't have to go into the woods.
Randy.
So I
Thank
got
you,
to use
Randy.
a 100 to 400 lens on a tripod. And this is a pair of, my wife and I go to her place every day going by this down 2000. And this mommy and baby are so fun to watch. When I took this picture, they ran all over the place and she looked at me, both eyes at me the whole time. I was probably there half an hour, 40 minutes. But it was fun to watch how she was not scared of me, but she wanted to know what I was planning on doing. So I took, I don't know. This is nothing, Lewis and Candy, but I did take probably 50 pictures, but compared to what you guys do, but I really liked being able to go out and take some pictures of an animal. It was fun. And your feedback helped me about where I should put it and all that kind of stuff. It was a pretty day. And I got away without breaking an ankle.
That's right. You're injured.
Yeah, big time. Okay.
Oops.
I think I would have really, really, really liked this one about a week and a half earlier.
When the trees.
There's just the trees on the right, there's no leaves. And the ones in the back are really pretty, but my eyes keep going to the ones on the right. So it's a beautiful scene.
It's hard to find a subject.
Mhm.
Yeah, I get distracted by that log up front there too.
Yeah, this is one that if we're zoomed in, if you had a nice big zoom and you zoomed in up the creek there and caught those trees and a bit of that sky and the white covered mountains in the background, it could be a really nice image.
Yeah, much narrower composition that leads your eyes, because it really doesn't lead my eyes at least in, because now when I'm looking at that, it's like, well, God, the river probably goes to the right past those dead, the trees that are no longer have any leaves on them. So
I mean, I like,
cropping this
yeah,
one,
I
think,
like
would be
John's
valuable.
idea of using more of a telephoto approach, because the more I look at it, and the log is a distraction, you have a lot of reflection as you're going farther into the photograph that I think you'd notice a whole lot more.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I do notice that the reflection, but I
Yeah.
didn't notice it very well to begin with.
And per Kyle's previous comment, a polarizing filter on that would probably work wonders too.
Yeah. Because you don't need that many clouds at the top.
Lauren, if you use the polarizer filter, how much of the reflection would you lose?
I don't know. I think it might cut some of the glare, and it might help bring up that pretty part that John was referring to in there. You have that reflection of all those color trees to back. You'd have to play with it. And I can't say for sure that the light is in the right direction, that the polarizing filter would really help either.
Yeah.
I can't tell.
It's personal taste always, but for me, that sky is too saturated.
John, I learned when I moved out here, the first thing you do whenever you get a picture with Wyoming sky is you desaturate everything because nobody believes it. It might be real, but nobody believes it.
I agree. I mean, I've gone out and taken some photographs and gone, yeah, it actually was that blue, but just like
I
Lauren
always
said, nobody
desaturated.
believed you.
Yeah.
Lucky us.
That's an interesting question, because I like us to learn something from these. And the whole idea of the polarizing filter, because usually I'm always careful that it's on the right or the left, but I'm wondering how important is it in the water? Because will it make those kind of back to the left where that little stream is going? Would that make those reflections stand out or not?
I'm also
Right.
wondering if you crop this to a horizontal, so you took the log out, and brought the clouds down a little bit, so that your eye is sweeping across this horizontal framing. If that also would add to it. I mean, I really like the mountains far in the background too, and that would hopefully emphasize them a little bit more.
Okay. The last of the first round.
I really like that dusting of snow on the mountains.
It's dusk.
Wasn't
There's a
taken
star
long
up
time
there.
ago.
There's a star in the sky.
Oh, I see it.
Right there.
Okay.
I was,
Planet
Good
anyway.
observation.
Planet.
Wow.
yeah, I was thinking this was too flat, and that it should be, you should bring, the light up a lot, but I see that it's really an evening shot. And, having noticed that, it really makes me like this better than I did at first. And I like the composition a lot. I'd like a little more foreground
Hmm.
of the field.
Yeah, I think from an aspect of Idaho, again, if you know the geographic aspects of it, we have the harvested field, we have the fall colors, we have the dusting of snow. So I think for our geographic location, I think it's a great fall landscape.
Agreed.
This is mine, and Randy and I were out doing this together, and this is in the evening, and we're waiting for the moonrise, which we had done this the day before too, and got a nice moonrise on the Grand, but by the time the moon came up, we just lost too much light. So this is really I debated about whether to give this to Randy as for a submission or for a submission of a bad picture, because it's crazy what I did to it to get it to look like this. So it's not one of my best, but I just love that field of trees there and thought it fit with the theme. And I did try with more foreground there of the field, and I didn't like it. It took too much away.
Yeah, I think the road or whatever this is on the right-hand side is distracting. And if you put more of the foreground in, is this a road?
I think that was just part of the field, Randy.
a different farmer's field, or at least it was
Yeah.
what they were taking up was different.
Louis, what I liked is this thing seems almost like a plein air painting. If you think of it as a painting, it really works, especially with the color of the metal roof over the red barn. It just kind of works with the other colors. Yeah, I was kind of confused about the light also, but it does, it looks like a painting to me.
Yeah, and
Louis-
part of that is, yeah, so they're so blurred in those trees there was just, oh, well. But thank you.
Louis, I've got a question for you that kind of arises the Lightroom as it was before 12, but after 10 or after 11. If you had used, I suppose you did use Lightroom, did you darken the sky and lighten the foreground?
Oh boy, I did a lot to this. I think I did darken the sky a touch, and then I treated the mountains and the trees differently. I added some contrast in there. I think even a little dehaze into the mountains, and then I can't remember what I did with the trees, but it took a lot of work to get it to be, because it was really a flat, dull setting by the time this came up. And I think, Randy, this wasn't too far before the moon actually started to come up there on the left. But I don't know about yours, but my pictures were, I tried to save those to submit one, but it was just
hard
so
'cause there
dark and
was-
so noisy, I couldn't do anything with them.
Because I was thought the trees, it would nice to bring out the color a little bit more of the trees, because the color of the mountains, I think, is really good. But the trees,
Yeah, and I did. I think I did actually boost the saturation a little bit on the trees just by brushing at those.
yeah,
But it started just not looking right the further I went.
yeah. Okay. Okay, that leaves us with 3. Filter off. Rated 1. Here are our final 3. And so now please notice that the numbers have changed. So don't just vote for what you voted last time. You've got to vote, this is a 1, whoops, this is a 2, and this is a 3. And so I'll give you a big picture of it, of each of them, and then you can send your vote to Lauren. This is number 1.
And this time it's just one vote.
Correct. Yes, I'm sorry. I should have made that, emphasize that. Just one vote. And you may find that it may be, now that you see these 3, you may feel differently about them. Because sometimes the one that gets the most vote in the first round does not get the most vote in the second round. Okay, here's 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 3 very different pictures, but 3 very nice pictures. I'll give you one more round of big pictures. 1. 2. 3. Okay, send your number 1, 2, or 3 to Lauren. Remember, it's not the same numbers as it was the first round.
Is that everybody? We have this massive tie. And then finally the tiebreaker came in and now it's almost up again. So I won't say who I'm going to blame for that, but
I think there was actually a time that we came to this, that it was a three-way tie for first.
it was close.
So that must mean we have maybe one first and 2 seconds.
Yeah, has everybody voted? I think that when they count again, yeah, that should be everybody. Yes, we have. So
So who are the ties for seconds?
tied for second. Number 2 and number 3.
Mhm.
2 and 3. So this is 3. So let's go back and look at this and talk about it.
Where was this taken? So somebody here? We know.
Yeah, that's me, Lauren. This was taken at Palisades.
It was Palisades. I was gonna
Wow.
say that red color looked like Palisades.
Yeah.
Great.
Rachel, was
really
the
love
wind,
this,
was the wind
Rachel.
blowing? Was the wind blowing?
No, this has had the oil paint filter put on it in Photoshop.
Thank you.
Oh,
Oh, okay, because I was confused. Okay, yeah.
Wait, could you explain that, Rachel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I did with this image was with fall colors, the best way to get them to pop is to use the calibration sliders in Lightroom, not saturation. So I use the calibration sliders to increase the colors to make them pop. And then I took it into Photoshop and I used under the filters, there's a filter where you can make it look like an oil painting and you can adjust the degree of effect that you want. And so I adjusted it to make it sort of look like it was a little bit abstract, but also that maybe the wind was blowing a bit.
Oh, so it's
Hmm.
not that it's not perfectly clear, but that's made to be not perfectly clear.
Yeah, that's a filter in Photoshop.
Ah,
I just really like all the colors in there.
Yeah, this is a hillside along the reservoir at Palisades, which I shoot every year because it is just so beautiful, but it's really hard to get it. Randy, you probably know it.
yeah.
Because it's right on the highway, so it's really hard to find a spot to shoot it from. So I camped down in Palisades and shot it over 2 days because I wanted the right light and I needed the right angle, and it was hard. It's so beautiful from the road, but it's very hard to shoot. This was shot with a 600mm lens from across the river and across the highway.
Wow.
Wow.
Beautiful.
It's an awesome shot, and I love what you did with the filter there. It everything just has like a kind of distorted, wavy look. I think it just makes it, it's very unique.
It does make it look like a painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you take this one by the dam?
Yeah, it's right adjacent to the dam,
Yeah.
in between Alpine and the actual, head of the dam, just along that stretch.
It's really disappointing because you got to go off into the woods or try to find it, and it's like beautiful from a distance, but it's really hard to get a format for it.
Mhm.
This is a good one though, because it doesn't have a foreground. It's just in your face. Here's the colors. And the colors are gorgeous, really amazing.
I love how the
Better
light
than
has
any
come
other
out.
place I can think of. Okay, just a second here. Let me go back. Oops, wait a second. Dang it. Okay, here's the tie for second.
That's a great story.
Sue, is
Why,
it yours?
Sue? Why is it a
No,
good story?
but I just love, obviously this, to me, the way it speaks to me is this couple's just kind of awed by the grandeur of what they're looking at. And it also has a lot of fall color in it, but it also has tremendous depth.
And it has a dog in it too.
Oh, excuse me, yes, and the dog.
Of course.
Some of us, that's a big deal.
Whose is it?
It's mine.
John, lovely.
I really like it because of the same thing that Sue did. She said it's a story. And I don't think many photographs that I see that I'm just grabbed by have the story in it. And this one, having the two people and the dog, yeah, because I can put myself there on a beautiful day, and it's like you want the day to last for 20 hours. It's really nice.
What millimeter was that shot with?
It's on my 28-300 zoom.
Okay.
And it's also, it's a merged image.
Ah, okay.
So, so it's a created panorama.
Gorgeous. I
We've
want to
been
be there
asking-
right
go
now.
ahead.
Wow.
I assume that's you, John?
What's
Was
that?
Just somebody you walked up to that was on the path.
It's a couple that I shared that day with, that hike.
Oh, okay.
It's above the Grovat River Valley, for those who may not know the location.
Oh, how far up?
It's what I call Atherton Ridge. It's the east-west
Okay.
ridge on the south side, or excuse me, north side of the Grovat River Valley. If you go up from Atherton Campground
Right. Yeah, I've seen that.
and go up
Oh.
on that
Never been on
ridge,
it.
and you can make a loop and come down at the wedding tree.
Okay.
Know that.
That's a nasty road, though.
Not anymore. It's beautiful.
Oh, really? Because
It's
I was
paved
to it in June or May, and
Nice.
a lot of potholes.
Nice.
Hmm.
I always wonder
John,
where
I got
that
a
trail
question
went. Thanks,
for
John,
you.
because I've done the ends of it, but I haven't done the middle, and that's really nice.
Well, there's that rock is a great lunch spot,
Yeah.
and there's nothing else to sit on, but that's big enough, and it was a lovely place to sit and take in the view for quite a while.
Have you done much Lightroom changes to the picture of the original picture?
There's quite a few steps. The contrast between the sky and the foreground certainly worked a little bit to bring the colors out a little bit more. You can see the trees were fading. So, this was the last gasp in terms of aspen
On the
up
right-hand
there.
side, yeah.
But, so there was, I'd have to go back and look at the steps, but, and the fact that sometimes when you merge photos, you've got issues to deal with there. I think there were some as well.
Because I was wondering if you tried darkening the sky some. I mean,
I
that's
did,
kind
I'm
of what
pretty
it really looks
sure.
like, but I thought that might make it stand out a little more.
I at least either maybe up the contrast and probably put a little bit of dehaze on the sky. I'd have to go back and look at the steps. It's been a couple of weeks since I processed this.
Okay. But for me, it makes me want to be on the trail.
It's a great walk.
Yeah. It's a beautiful walk. Anything else, anybody? Okay. Here's number one.
String Lake.
Recognize that shot.
Oh, yeah.
Who took it?
I did.
Very nice too.
And it's actually by the Jenny Lake Boat Dock.
Oh, really?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Just
Crawled
across
over-
the bridge, a little bit way down on the side.
Crawled over the bridge. I mean, crawled
Oh,
over.
did you?
Yeah, crawled over the wall and then went down to the shoreline
Yeah.
on that side of Cottonwood Creek
I
so that I
can't-
could
Oh,
shoot
so
up.
it's not Jenny Lake, it's
No.
south of Jenny
So,
Lake.
If you're going toward the boat dock and the bridge there,
Yeah.
Yep.
then there's that wall before you get to the bridge. So I crawled over the wall and then went down to kind of the water's edge so that I could shoot up.
Okay, so it's the south, it's a bit, just a couple hundred feet south of the bridge.
closer to the bridge than that.
Oh, okay, but it's on the south side of the bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way that the aspens stand out in the middle like that.
But that's what caught my eye.
It's almost like the colors, though, the oranges, they take place in the water, they go through the shrubs that come into the tree, and then you see the oranges on the mountain. I mean, it's just the way that you get little hints everywhere of the color.
Yeah.
And people talk a lot about implied leading lines, and that burst of color just takes you right up. I guess that's Stevenot, and just kind of takes you right up to the top, and the clouds are perfect. I mean, it really is a beautiful picture.
Thank you.
Sets off the center. Okay. Anything else? All right. Those are three very different, but very nice from my perspective. Oops, no, I don't really want to quit yet. Just want to shrink this down. Here we go. All righty. For Kyle, the last thing we do is we usually talk a little bit about this. What did you learn from this theme? And then we'll have Sue picked out the theme challenge for next month. Is there anything in particular you found educational about going through these photos?
I mean, personally, I it's just nice to see what other people's eyes, see. And so just kind of hear, like, yeah, I feel like you can gain a lot of insight from other people's critiques on, what catches their eye first and things like that. And just hearing different comments on how people would change it and how they would crop it this way and that. So I think, to some degree, it's a lot of people's personal taste, but it's helpful to, catch some of the suggestions that people make. And yeah, to get another creative eye for things. We had a lot of different images here. I think it's good to kind of see that.
Well, thank you very much, Kyle. I'll send you your check in the next hour. I think that I feel the same way about it, that I found this I've been doing for like 7 years. Well, this part of it probably about 5 years, to see how different people see it different ways. And then when I hear the way they see it, it's like, oh yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. And that can be very, I think, at least for me, that can be very educational. Anything else from anybody else? All righty. Sue, your choice. Last one, and then depending on some other things that might happen, we'll start all over again.
I need to find the list.
Oh, can't you guys see it?
No.
No.
You don't have it
still
up
on
on the
Lightroom.
screen.
Wait. You are screen sharing. Ah, darn. Well, how do I do this now?
We're still seeing Lightroom, Randy.
Yeah, I know, and I'm seeing the other. I wonder how I get that.
Try minimizing Lightroom.
Oh, okay, I got it now. Share. Now you see the,
Got it.
Yes.
okay.
I'm always open to suggestions. I was going to say telephoto landscape, but really a lot of these are telephoto landscape. So you need something else.
How about portraits?
That would be the one I don't want to do.
Actually, I don't think we've
I
ever
do-
done
Yeah,
that.
that's it.
Portraits. I have this
Yeah.
beautiful girl that just would love to photograph her.
Yeah, I'm too much of an introvert. I just can't go up to people and say, "Can I take your photograph?"
Agreed.
But a portrait could be an animal, couldn't it? If it's like a close up.
You could.
You do have 21 winter landscape. We're gonna get those pretty soon.
Well, that's true. I'm kind of leaning over into the left column. What do people think about? Oh, did somebody say something?
You're the boss, so they'll say, yeah.
Oh, I know. I taught too. I can wait.
What about foreground interest, Sue? I like that idea.
Okay.
Which one,
let's do
Rachel?
that.
Foreground interest.
Foreground interest.
Okay.
And yeah, I was gonna say the only other one that might play well with the November would be fog, steam, and smoke. But
We got 6 more months of it, don't worry.
yeah, we'll have to jump on it, I guess.
Okay, fog. Foreground
we're-
interest.
No, we're going for, yeah, foreground interest.
Foreground interest. Okay, and this will be set up on the website tomorrow, and a summary of what we've got. And Lauren will send me the votes and stuff. And I've got something else I want to do that I'm putting on to the end, that if you don't want to stay, that's fine. I need your help. And I'm not going to be nasty. I mean, there have been times that I felt really nasty about this. But I send out emails all the time, and there are 40 people that I send an email to. And I imagine some of those people probably erase it in the first 30 seconds. But these last 2, I've gotten 3 responses out of 40 people. And I honestly have no clear understanding of why the peer mentor program is slipping away. For Kyle, when we go back pre-Zoom at Meridian Trust, we had so many people there that we had like 35 people there that we had to find 2 separate places. And now we're down to single digits, 9, maybe 10 people sometime. And I had a nice talk with Lauren today that he pointed out to me that it wasn't just the Teton Photography Club, but all kinds of clubs and all kinds of groups, restaurants that just don't have many people. And so what I'd like to do is to think about what can we do, not to get 40 people necessarily, but to get more people involved, to come to the peer mentor meetings, because I'm kind of afraid that the programs are actually dying. I mean, maybe that sounds a little nasty, but so what's the next step? Let me give you a little background that was really helpful to me, that when I talked to Dave at Meridian Trust a couple days ago, he was very excited to have us come back. And about a year ago, when we were kind of up to our eye sockets in Zoom and COVID, I asked everybody that was coming whether they wanted to go to a face-to-face meeting or a Zoom meeting. And we're kind of back at that now. Do we want to move monthly to a single face-to-face meeting? Do we want to stay with the Zoom meeting? Do we want to adjust and have a face and Zoom meeting? How should I find out? I really need your opinion on this.
You know,
How am I
I'll,
going to find out? Go ahead, Sue.
yeah, I'll toss this out there. My concern, it's a lot of fun, you know, going to the library and being around people. Again, my problem with the Meridian room is we were packed in there. And I'm actually expecting, at least I'm reading, there's going to be another surge of a new variant of COVID. So I'm not going to be in a room with a bunch of people.
What would you say is a bunch of people? Because I suspect, I mean, you were there when we got to like 30 people. I can't imagine that we're going to be back to more than a dozen people.
Maybe not. And then the other thing I have to say is that, you know, if we go back to face, then we lose a number of the people that have been able to, that are not here, you know, like Charlotte and Barney and Michael. Well, no, Michael's not part of this. But in any case, those folks that are not here for a lot of months and don't have any way of attending in person. And it's
That
nice to,
certainly is problematic.
yeah, and it's really nice to see them be able to participate, at least from my perspective.
Okay. What about the rest?
Randy, question.
Yeah,
And that is wintertime. Was there, travel can be an issue. And I'm just
kidding.
wondering, especially for people like you or on the other side of the pass, how I didn't participate in the PMP meetings back when they were live. And I'm just wondering what the effect of winter was on participation.
I did it for 5 winters. I spent time at the base of the drive over for 4 hours once. Yeah, I was thinking that we could solve that problem. Lewis and I and Kenny were talking about this a while back, that we can always now go to a Zoom meeting if we would have a bad storm or very cold weather or something like that. So I wouldn't rule out doing that because of snow, because there's always another way to approach it. The problem for me is having both a face-to-face and a Zoom meeting. Now, if I could have a face-to-face Zoom meeting, a face-to-face meeting that also went a Zoom meeting, that would be fine, but Meridian Trust wouldn't allow us to do that we couldn't have that interaction in a bank, essentially.
Randy, what about in the library? Could we have a meeting and a Zoom in the library in Jackson?
We should ask John, he knows about that.
Technically, you can do that, but scheduling the meetings might be an issue.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, Randy,
You could ask and see if it's available. Their evenings, they're reluctant to, I think they would be very reluctant to give TPC 2 evenings a month.
Right. And yeah, so it couldn't be on a Tuesday.
Okay.
Sure, because
I gotcha.
Tuesdays are tied up.
Randy,
Sure.
I don't want to feel like I'm addressing the elephant in the room here, but I'm just gonna toss this out because I actually have an email going back to you on this. And I just want to ask.
Relevant.
I want to ask the group: does the format need to change? I mean, we've been doing themes on Zoom for what seems like years now.
3 years.
And I think I think we need to think about doing some other things.
I agree.
Barney, do you have suggestions for what a different format would be?
Well, I think that we need to put our heads together and come up with some brainstorming ideas. But I mean, if we just go back to our old Zoom meetings, for example, I mean, one of the things that I got a big kick out of was which do you like? I mean, the 2 images, people put in 2 images. Which one do you like and why do you like it? I think, focusing perhaps a little bit more, or at least some of these meetings on educational value would be worthwhile. Something to consider at least.
So we could mix, yeah, so it doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other. We could mix it up or just move entirely to something else. If I'm hearing you correctly, we're not making a decision tonight, but this is something to consider. And there may be different ways that could be set up. Am I getting that?
You are. I'm just saying, let's think outside the box, outside the theme box.
Sure.
So Barney, I actually did email Randy back with that same suggestion to either drop the themes to every other month and on the opposite month to do something different, like 2 or 3 people get together and talk about how to mask on Lightroom or do the oil filter on Photoshop. I really, really enjoyed it when we would each put in 2 photos and compare it. So that could be a meeting. And I also like seeing what you guys are doing away from the group. So Lewis and I did Baffin this year. I'd love to see where other people are traveling to. So that could be another month. We just have to plan them out so Randy's not scrambling at the last minute to try to fill the month. Try to fill the month that's not a theme.
for me, the greatest value is the discussion of the strengths and weaknesses of individual images. And the educational part would also be of value to me. Whether the images come from a theme or whether they were recent or not is less interesting to me personally. But the discussion about how do you know, what's good or bad about this photograph, what could you do to improve it, that's very valuable.
I'd agree with that. And I did send Randy some suggestions as well. So I guess I was one of the 2 or 3, but you know, some of the educational things would be of interest to me. I'd like to see some people walk through how they process their photos in Lightroom, for instance. You know, so start with the raw file and what were the steps you went through. And it's pretty easy in Lightroom to, you know, to show each step that you did to an image. It's all right there on the left-hand side. You can click on each one. But I'd be really interested in just knowing what people started with and, you know, how they made it what they felt was a really, hopefully a really nice photo.
And so I know I'm very new, but, and this is my first PMP meeting, but that last meeting, you know, a week or 2 ago was basically that. And that's why that's what I was saying. I was like, that was extremely helpful to just, and even just to, you know, the rough and skinny on it. It's like really quick, boom, boom, boom. It was like a team effort to edit a photo. But then again, you know, and I don't know how to make the peer mentor program different, because obviously you kind of want to, I'm sure you can have a lot of similarities, but maybe not be exactly the same. And like I said, I don't know, I'm new, but I did find that very helpful. And I don't know if you guys all attended last week, but that was kind of like what that was about.
One of the things you're going to see when I go to the next slide that I think would be valuable is to actually build into the peer mentor program something that came out when we were face-to-face more, and that is educational things. I find it kind of hard. I mean, I'm really glad that we did the critique of both the ones that didn't make the final 3 and the ones that did, because we can learn from each other. But we could also implement some things about, well, like Lightroom edition 12. There's a lot of things in there that maybe we could have Lauren or somebody talk about it for 20 minutes, half an hour, and then do some of our photographs to see how we could do that. I think that kind of educational part would be really, really valuable to add. Barney, what you had said about that, you're not talking about an elephant in the room. What you're talking about, I think a lot of us probably have had in our head to say, yeah, we should try that. And I'm glad that you brought it up, because then we can realize that other people see it the same way. I kind of have to take on some of the problems because I stuck with it. We did, for those of you that weren't around 4 years ago, what we used to do is have people bring in 2 pictures that were pretty much the same, but maybe it was the composition, or maybe it was the exposure, or all kinds of different things. And then people would say, well, I like the one on the left better than the one on the right because of blah, 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 blah. And that led into doing some Lightroom things. And I think we learned a lot from it, but I found that to be, I assumed that would be more difficult on Zoom than it was firsthand. So Barney, I'm really glad that you brought that up, and you can send me your small book about how to do it. I'd be glad to read it and start sharing it. Anybody else?
Yeah, Randy, we talked about last Tuesday at the meeting of the TPC that we're doing a thing called What Have I Been Shooting, where we basically, the idea is that you alert other members to what's going on around the area. And I know this isn't relevant to everyone who doesn't live in Jackson, but
sure.
You know, for a couple of weeks, the fall colors were just going nuts at the Palisades. And for 2 weeks, there was black bears all over Moose Wilson Road. And so even if it's just 5 minutes at the beginning of a meeting, we could just say, hey, what's everyone been shooting? If they're prepared to share, obviously. and, you know, to sort of encourage people to get out there, but also to provide a bit of club intel of, you know, there's like a really nice move on Grosvenor Road or something like that. I would find that useful as a
I think that's a
motivational
very
tool.
good idea. We may
Because
be,
it motivates you too. Like if it's a Saturday and you're going, what am I going to do? It's like, oh, well, Erica told me that there's like goats in the canyon. I'm going to go there.
Mhm. And I think we could even address that with what we used to do 4 or 5 years ago, was to go out for photo shoots together. And maybe we could do something where we do some education about here's the kinds of things, here's the places that we go. And we could go and for a morning shoot or an evening shoot together. I think that's something that we can now bring back to the program that we had before, that included a lot of interaction so people get to know one another. Then you feel more comfortable, I think, when they give you some critique or give you some advice or whatever.
That is what I would value most. And I know, like I said, I'm kind of new, and I'm gonna be gone until basically May. But you know, when I come back, I plan on participating, and I'll still probably participate from Bozeman, but that would be most viable for me. And I think for a lot of other people too.
Sure. Because there's places that are within an hour or two of here that some people have been to and have told me about it. It's like, oh God, I should go there sometime. I think it would be very valuable to add that in. Somebody else? Erica?
Randy, I was just saying, when we did have the in together meetings, you felt comfortable going and asking a person a question, whether it's technical or it's artistic, and because you're in the same room. So, and not everybody had to hear your question.
I'd also like to observe that tonight there was a little bit of discussion about how people process the raw image. And it wasn't a lot, but it was more than I can recall from the previous meetings that I've been at. And I thought that was valuable to me as well.
Okay.
This is Barney. So I one more question to the group, and this is for feedback, actually, to the TPC as well as the peer mentor group, and that is, you know, we're going to be looking out to next year for speakers. What sort of things do you want to hear about? I mean, we do landscapes, we do panoramas. We had scheduled an outstanding black and white photographer who actually I heard her speak fairly recently here at a different meeting. Any suggestions along those lines would be helpful as we line up, you know, 3 or 4 speakers for next year. So we don't have to get into a discussion tonight about it, but if you could send me any suggestions as to what you would like to hear about and learn about, that would be very helpful.
Great, thank you.
I have something that I'd like to have included in there. I think that we have lots of people within the Teton Photography Club that have some skills that are educational that we could include into that. I don't think we always have to bring people over from Scotland or California or whatever. I think the person that you see and talk with really knows a lot about X, whether it's software or composition or whatever it is, and to bring them in and to have them talk for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then answer questions. And one thing I remember, and this is probably before a lot of you joined, Aaron gave a presentation about 5 years ago about light, about how to light up things. Any of you remember this? It was over
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
that was an incredibly good presentation for us because it was so hands-on. And I think we have to work for having more educational meetings. They don't need to be 2 hours. They could be 45 minutes. But we have people that are hungry, I think, hungry for learning those kinds of things. We just need to find out what those things are and then find some people that are members. And we got some really bright people that have been doing photography for a long time, and you can go to them with questions, but maybe you're intimidated about going with them with questions, and having them make a presentation for anywhere from 15, 20 minutes to 30 or 40 minutes would be wonderful, I think. What do the rest of you think?
That sounds good to me.
I think you're heading in the right direction, Randy. I think we need a mixture of education and peer evaluations of our photographs.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also agree, I mean, that is a great idea about utilizing the talent we have in the club. I mean, I just had a brief conversation with Barney at one point. I mean, I'd just like to know, I'm not going to buy an infrared camera, but I'd sure like to know more about infrared photography.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I really appreciate that you've been talking so much. I don't find out the information from sending emails, and that's fine, but sitting down and talking to you, even though I can't see you, I've written down a whole bunch of things that I can think about using, bringing up. I hope we can bring some more people in to realize that we can help them in that way. Let me see, I think there was some other things. Okay, that I already know.
Well, Randy, just before you move away from that, to
Okay.
go back to Sue's comment, I think it would be helpful if you would maybe assess your list of people as to how comfortable they feel with face-to-face.
I've tried that.
Okay.
Jen,
I hear
tried
it.
but I don't get a response.
Okay, well, you'll get one from me.
Randy,
Yeah.
Randy, I used to be in marketing and sales, and you just need to ask one question in an email, just one, and ask for an answer, and then maybe you'll get more answers, my dear.
So I'm passing on too much bullshit? Is that what you're saying?
Sort of. We know each other, you know.
Emails are
one-
long, Randy.
This is just
They are
one
long.
line. And then
So I
the
should
next time you
send,
send one again.
so I should send a text message or an email that simply has one or two lines that says face-to-face, Zoom, both.
40 characters.
I'm just too old for you guys. Andy, you're just a child in my view.
I'll even one up you on it. A lot of people do just a very simple Google poll, and it's like, what are you more interested in? They literally just click. It's all there. You just give them, basically it's like a multiple choice, and I think people are very responsive to that. They just look at it real quick, put their comment in, and boom.
I'll try my best. I'll get Candy to do it for me.
Kyle, we have a little generational issue here, just a tiny one.
Yeah, I could be your
You
grand.
can ask my son to do
Maybe
that.
setting up it might be a little difficult, but it is user friendly as far as a click. But
I think that's actually a good idea to get
Okay.
responses.
We have the software to do that. We do that annually. I'm sure that David's going to be putting together a survey, for the whole group, and it's easy. It takes 5 minutes. So we can help Randy with that. If he comes up with the question, I think we can help set that up.
Okay.
And it is the time of year that we are interested in doing that. Okay, let's see. This we've all got it done. Oh, here, let me go back. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but here's something I thought of. What if we change from the monthly theme being every month to number 2 on this? And they wouldn't have to be in this order, but just that maybe we do it by season. That the first month number 1, we'd have an educational presentation like what's happening with Lightroom now. If you haven't gotten 12 yet, take a look at it. Everything I hear about it it's really different. Then maybe the second month of the season, we would have the monthly theme challenge. Then the third month of the season, we have what I call the peer mentor critique. What I ask people to do is send me or bring in, if it's a face-to-face meeting, 2 photos we'll put them up as pairs and we'll talk about which one is do people like better and how could you make changes in it. And what we found when it was face-to-face meetings at Meridian, we got a lot of work with Lightroom doing that because people could come over to computer and make some things like that. And then the fourth thing in the month would be questions that I could collect questions from people and then we could bring them in. And we have some very talented people in the peer mentor program that can probably answer all those. How do you feel about doing this, that maybe by season, we would have a different presentation every season?
I think you're listening, Randy. I think a lot of that is what we've been talking about.
Okay. So it's not, I don't like to use this word, but it probably the boredom of doing the same thing over and over again. We need to make some changes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's worth a go.
Okay. All right, I'm going to give you the responsibility for number 3. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, this may seem a bit crazy, but it seems we must make a change. I hear you. I feel the people that don't respond to me. And it's my responsibility in a sense. It's also this COVID thing that's doing it. I think I get so much out of the peer mentor program and I really enjoy working with all of you and other people. I just don't want that thing to fall off the edge and to hell with it. I think it's worth doing some extra work on it and I need some help from you guys and just getting the responses from other people. I think one question, that'll be my attempt. All right, and just for historical say when I first did peer mentors was the 30 years when I was a professor, and I found the best way for me to find out how I could become a better professor and teacher was to listen to what the peer mentors told me. And they say, Randy, that's a bunch of shit. You shouldn't be doing that. Okay, what should I do? And they would do it. And that made a big difference. Now I need your help on this. And we're going to change it for 2023. All righty.
Works.
Okay.
Take a look at, I'll get the website stuff done tomorrow. And Sue, I think we do have a page for it, but you take a look at that and get in touch with me in the next couple of days. And I appreciate the 9, 10, 12 of you that are here. Kyle, you're very welcome to be here and we'll keep thinking of some Zooms once you move up to Montana. Maybe what we can do is come up and visit you up there.
Not a bad spot.
All righty.
Yeah.
Take
Well,
care.
nice to meet you guys. Like I said, hopefully, when I come back, I can be a little more involved. Yeah, glad I got tied in with you guys. Look forward to learning more from everybody.
All righty. Take care.
Night all.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Randy, I sent you a text with the results.
Super.
And just send me a confirmation you got it before I throw this piece of paper away.
All righty.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good to see everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay, leave.